Palantir not only is down over 80% from its all-time high a mere 16 months ago, it is also below its IPO price a mere 2 years ago. Guys, this company has fallen big time. If you see our past videos, we warned about this. We said this is overhyped, this is overvalued, they're issuing shares like crazy. So what is the future for Palantir? Guys, Palantir is selling for $7 and change right now. So let's look at the chart of Palantir. This is the 5-year chart for Palantir. As I showed you, October of 2020, around $10 a share. It's currently at $7.23 a share after hitting a peak last year around $40 a share. This is where the caddy at the country club, who's 18 years old, told me I was wrong about Palantir and Bitcoin and Tesla, and it was at $28 a share. It is now down 75%. Somebody, if you're playing at Firestone, please go tip this kid really well because he needs the money. It's down a ton. So what does this mean about the future for Palantir? Well, Palantir actually now is selling for about in the 6 to 10 range for software for price to sales ratio. Do I still think it's expensive? Well, yeah, a little bit because look, last year they lost $500 million on revenue of $1.5 billion. There's no free cash flow in the last 5 years. And last year they only made $300 million in free cash flow on a $14.5 billion market cap. That's 45 times free cash flow. That's a hard pill to swallow. Do they have a lot of growth potential? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. But even this year, if you look at what analysts are saying that they're only going to make 17 cents per share. Next year, 24. The year after that, 33. So even though the growth numbers are huge, I'm still looking at it going, wait a second. At 33 cents a share 3 years from now, it's still selling for over 20 times earnings today. That is the concern. Does that mean it's not a good buy? No, but remember, you want to pay a higher PE for companies that have major growth potential. And this is huge growth, but there's somewhere in between where it makes sense. In past videos, I talked about looking at Palantir at sub 10 and probably was a $5 stock. But even I said that based on what? I based it on them getting to profitability sooner rather than later. I don't know when they're going to be profitable. Is this going to happen? I have no idea. Keep in mind, I love Peter Thiel, the guy who started this company. I think what they're doing is great because they're getting away from government contracts and going to more to individual companies and organizations. I love that. I don't like it when companies just rely on the government. So the future could be very bright for Palantir. I do think they will be around for a while. I'm going to go look at their balance sheet. They have $2.9 billion in cash and cash equivalents and only $950 million in debt. Total company debt, short-term and long-term. That means they have $1.6 billion in positive value for the company that you can take off immediately if you bought the company. This company is likely to be around for a while. You look at their revenue growth over the last few years. Guys, huge. It's tripled in the last few years. So the question is, should we buy it today? So the exciting part about their earnings, they just reported. Guys, look at this. Their revenue growth of 31% for Q1, but more important to me, U.S. commercial revenue up 136% year over year. What I was talking about before, they're getting further away from the government contracts and focusing more on commercial revenue. So some other highlights here, guys. Even though revenue is 31% in commercial revenue, U.S. commercial revenue grew 136%. Government revenue still grew 16% year over year. Their customer count, 86%. So they're getting more and more customers and selling. Probably the average sale price will be lower, but they're getting a more spread out customer base, which I like because I don't like the fact of only government and only a few companies because that's too risky for me. So I like what's going on here. Now, one thing I don't remind you guys, anybody who's watched my Palantir videos, this is where you need to separate your bias towards the stock price to now reevaluate. I hated Palantir stock at 40. I literally called certain YouTube stars morons for owning it, but now it's at 7. Now I'm interested. So let's go do an evaluation in our stock analyzer tool to decide, is Palantir selling somewhere where I want to be? So let's go check it out. One of the things I do want to mention about Palantir, though, that kind of concerns me, their shares outstanding over the last few years has more than doubled. This isn't stock splits. This is shares outstanding. So they're diluting me as an owner. I'm going to factor that into my desired return as a margin of safety for when I want to buy the company. So let's go to our stock analyzer tool. I'm going to do a 10-year analysis. Okay. Now for revenue growth, I'm going to go 8, 14, and 20%. Profit margin. Now, we don't have a profit margin. They have not made money. So we have to make estimations. I'm going to sit here and put in 5, 15, and 25% profit margin. They are a software business. So I don't know if 25% is reasonable or not. But one thing we can do, guys, let's go look at their gross margin. Their gross margin is 78%. For every dollar they sell, they have 78% margin. So I'm okay putting a bottom line margin of 25% in here. But again, it's going to take a while to get there. Free cash flow margin. I'm going to do the exact same thing because it is a software business. It's likely to be very consistent. And for PE, I'm going to put in 14, 16, and 18. And for my desired annual return, because they're probably going to lose money or make less money, I want a higher return. I usually put 12.5% in. I'm actually going to put in 17.5, 15, and 12.5. Actually, you know what? Exact opposite way. 12.5, 15, and 17.5. Hit the analyze button. All right, what'd I say? Remember I said something about $5? On the low end, it's worth 0.66 based on 12.5% return. On the high end though, guys, if you think this company can grow the revenue, $6.50, that might be worth it. Even at 12.5% return here, so a lower desired return, higher price, $9.35 a share. So I'm looking at this saying, okay, Palantir still has too many questions for me. The biggest issue for me for Palantir is the stock issuance. I just cannot stand all that stock being issued. Now, the good news is the stock price is so low, they're less likely to issue more shares. Issuing shares when the stock price is very expensive is a smart move. It's better. It might as well give tons of shares out, expensive shares to the market to fund your business. It's better than taking on debt. But if your stock gets cheaper, you don't want to do that. If you understand Palantir very well, I would take a closer look at this. For me, I want to wait a little bit longer to get more and more information to see a more stable profit number and free cash flow number before I make an investment. I'm willing to watch this thing go to $15 or $20 a share until I know I can determine better what it's worth. Because as of right now, I can't really gauge, am I right? Am I wrong? Am I anywhere close? I have no idea. I do know that 7's a lot better than 40, and that's what matters here the most.